All right, good evening. This is the July 21st, 2021 Cottage Grove City Council meeting, which I'm calling to order. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you'd please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, will the clerk please do the roll?
Councilmember Mills.
Here.
Councilmember Dennis.
Here.
Councilmember Thiede.
Here.
Councilmember Olson.
Here.
Mayor Bailey.
Here. The next item on our agenda is open forum. This is the opportunity for anybody who wants to speak on something that is not on tonight's agenda. We did have a sign-up sheet out in the entryway, and we did have one person sign up, so we'll start with that. And then if there's somebody that maybe didn't sign up, we'll add them to it. And all we'll ask you to do is just come up and state your name and address for the record at the podium. And our first person, I believe, is Michelle Nelson, 7602 Hyde Avenue South. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to move this because I'm really short.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hi, my name is Michelle Nelson. I live at 6702 Hyde Avenue South. Mayor Bailey, council members, and Officer Carter. My name is Michelle Nelson. When my husband Eric and I decided to move here almost 2 years ago, we were told Cottage Grove was a safe area. I would like to share some of our experiences with you in regard to safety. One of the things we noticed from the start of moving in was the number of fireworks that occurred at random days and random hours. The 2020 4th of July didn't thrill us, but it was one we were willing to chalk up to its 2020. This year, we went to Kingston Park where we noticed amateur hour around the park. My husband pointed out how low fireworks were over the houses, the incorrect angles they were being detonated at, and that fire was still falling below roof and tree lines. We were shocked that during the main show, smoke bombs, Roman candles, and other explosives were being set off in the spectator area. After the amazing Lions Club performance, my 4- and 7-year-old ran towards the playground. I followed to corral them when something exploded around us. I watched my 7-year-old hit the deck, do a full duck and cover, as I threw my body around my 4-year-old and felt the heat of ember raining down around us. I grabbed my now hysterical children and tried to locate my husband and toddler, unsure of what, if anything, was coming next and where to go to be safe. Not knowing what happened, I muttered, "Stupid teenagers," and Eric looked at me and said, "Al, have you not been paying attention? It very easily could have been a dud. It didn't explode, and it just so happened to land in the middle of the playground where it went off." I protested it wouldn't do that. Eric then reminded me he has a degree in rocket science and promised me it was possible. He is, in fact, a mechanical engineer. We went home and hoped the 3 kids could fall asleep while listening to what sounded like a war zone, grateful the people we loved most were still whole. My husband's words, "It could have been a dud," have been rattling in my head for weeks. We later learned it was teens who lit the fireworks on the playground and learned they learned a hard lesson. When you engage in adult activities, you need to be prepared for adult consequences. As a community, we fail our kids when we fail to issue adult consequences to adults engaging in behavior that is just as reckless. Kids repeatedly see adults here getting away with blowing off illegal fireworks over subdivisions. Why wouldn't they expect the same lackadaisical response? And why on earth are we holding our children to a higher standard than we do our adults? I would like to see some changes occur at the city level. I've spoken with several neighbors, and the majority of those I spoke with would also like to see some changes. The use of illegal fireworks in Cottage Grove is excessive to the point it is becoming a safety issue, as evidenced by the Nina Park fire, several home fires, and the playground this year. I would like to see an information campaign about fireworks safety put out by the city. I would like to see the city warning that they will be ticketing for illegal fireworks in the future well before the 4th of July next year, so people are aware of a paradigm shift. And finally, I would like to see a concerted effort to ticket those who violate Minnesota firework laws in the future. The truth is, I loved fireworks. I grew up blowing them off in the family farm in the back 40. I also value knowing my home and public spaces I help pay for are not about to be lit on fire by someone who wants to make shiny things go boom. I value being able to breathe after a holiday I used to adore when I lived elsewhere. I value knowing my kids are relatively safe, not without risk, but fairly safe at a city-sponsored event. I value knowing if we make some minor changes now, the people in my community won't have to experience what we did this year or worse. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that info. And I believe you have been speaking with our Director of Public Safety, Pete Kerner, and I know that we've actually had some conversations. I know when that happened, you were there, I was there, and Councilmember Olson, we were very close to the park when that went off. And I did see some of our public safety personnel immediately go over there, so unfortunately, you're right, it's terrible that it happened in the park, but there was a lot going around in the park too, I agree.
Yes. And I appreciate you guys taking your time to talk to me and to have these conversations.
Absolutely.
I'm not prepared to enter it into the record at this time, but I do want to share that this is just a couple hours of speaking with the neighbors in my direct area, and there's about 15, 16 names on here of people who feel the same way. Is it all right if I read what this says?
Yeah, go ahead.
It says the use of illegal fireworks in Cottage Grove has become excessive over the past few years. As residents of the city, we would like to see an information campaign about the safety of fireworks, warnings from the city. They will begin to ticket for illegal firework use and a concerted effort to ticket those who violate Minnesota firework laws. So,
Sounds good. Councilmember Molson, you want to add something?
Thanks for bringing it forward. As the mayor mentioned, several of us were at Kingston Park for the event. I happen to be a member of the Cottage Grove Lions, and so I was there working the actual event early on, and then when my very hot shift was done, ran home to grab a quick shower, pick up my son, and come to the fireworks. And we hear this frequently, so I don't want you to feel like you and your neighbors are the only ones who talk about this. I'm sure as you've discussed it with Director Kerner, he shared that as well. Something I want to share is that over time, as the community has gotten bigger, and of course, remember our proximity to the state of Wisconsin and readily available fireworks that you could not buy in Minnesota if you tried to. We've seen this become more prevalent, and it also is harder to police because of the fact that as we get bigger, we would literally need to assign a detail to, and I'm not saying we won't, but we would need to assign a detail with a truck to go house to house and pick up, illegal fireworks, which, by the way, in the past, we've done. I want you to know that this is something we all take very seriously. Public safety is at the forefront of really what we do. We see it as a core function of government that is critically important to the health and welfare of our community. And so please share with your neighbors that your comments will not fall on deaf ears.
thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, was there anybody else that didn't sign up out in the entryway that would like to speak during open forum at this point? All right, seeing none, I will go ahead and close open forum. We'll move to number 5, which is adoption of the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
We have a motion by Councilmember Dennis.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Thiede. All right, no discussion, you good? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Next is 6 is presentations. We do have one this evening. A is the Night to Unite Proclamation for August 3rd, 2021, and it's so nice that we can actually do this again. And our Director of Public Safety, Pete Kerner, will start us through this one.
Good evening, Mayor and
Thank you,
Council. As you see from that first slide, yes, we're back. It was very disappointing when we had to cancel last year because the Night to Unite is really one of our fun celebrations. It's a great community outreach. And in Cottage Grove, we're unique. Ours isn't just the police department going out. We really partner with our fire. Elected officials all come out. During the day, we actually, we have our public works participate. So we have a lot more groups participating than a lot of others. But yes, we're back in 2021. Just kind of, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. You guys know all about the Night to Unite. You all participate. You've been doing that for many, many years. A lot of cities, just kind of listed. Some do barbecues, ice cream socials. I know which parties I like to go to. I know which ones have the ribs or different things. And I think each of you kind of sign up for certain ones too, that you know what's there. But we don't expect neighbors to have, they don't all have to go crazy and have last 2 years ago, we had one that had dunk tanks, and, they went all out. And then there's others where it really is, it's just standing on the front porch with a few neighbors and stuff. So, whatever the sizes, they're great. But as you know, it's police and fire, elected officials, city staff. We go around town, we hit a lot of these. But I need to really point out of all of these, that Cottage Grove Public Safety Board is really a big part of this with they donate, and I'll get to one of the slides here with some of their donations, but they'll be out this year doing, games too at some of the houses. I think they have about 20 people signed up for the Public Safety Board, so they're gonna be stretched pretty thin trying to hit all of them. But, we have 44 Night to Unite block parties scheduled, so please don't ask for any more. 44 is awesome. I know in years past, we used to be like, oh, let's hit this number. This stretches up, because we want to make sure that we hit every party with the police car. And, I'm always disappointed I'm there. I'm all excited, and then the fire truck and everyone runs away. So, I'm sure you guys have experienced that too, that once the fire truck gets there, we're nothing. But, we're also doing the 3, we call them noon outs. Norris Squares, actually, Pres Home, they're gonna do 2 separate ones, but they'll be kind of overlapping. They're gonna hit just so they can get as many residents through as possible. White Pines and the Legends have them planned. But we have it all updated on the city website if people want more information. But 44 is an awesome number. So we are gonna continue with the Fill the Backpack campaign. And as you know, the Public Safety Board donates a backpack. And we ask for people to bring school supplies, and we end up usually getting a couple pallets worth of stuff. We'll pick it up the next day, so we're doing that again. All the supplies get dropped off at the Friends in Need food shelf. And then also we added a few years ago the paper product donations. We had such success with the school supplies, and Michelle Raggett at the food shelf said, we really need some paper, so take advantage of our audience. And so even if people aren't doing, participating in our neighborhood, the 19A parties, we'll take it right at the police department in the lobby, so we'll make sure it gets down to the Friends in Need food shelf. It's an awesome delivery the next day when we can bring truckload, I'm not kidding, it's at least 2 pickups full of stuff that we donate every year. So, with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Councilmember Olson, and he's got the proclamation, so thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Before I say anything, did anyone have anything they wanted to add?
No, I think what we'll do is let you read the proclamation, and then we'll make a motion in a second to approve the proclamation. So,
Perfect, thank you. Whereas the Minnesota Crime Prevention Association, along with AAA of Minnesota, Iowa, and local law enforcement agencies are sponsoring a statewide program called Night to Unite on August 3rd, 2021. And whereas Night to Unite is designed to get to know one another in your neighborhood, build neighborhood involvement, and also bring police and communities together and bring an awareness to crime prevention and local law enforcement efforts. And whereas Night to Unite supports the idea that crime prevention is an inexpensive, effective tool in strengthening police and community partnerships. And whereas Night to Unite provides opportunities to celebrate the ongoing work of law enforcement and neighborhoods in Cottage Grove by working together to fight crime and victimization and increase public safety for all citizens. And whereas the citizens of Cottage Grove play an important role in assisting the Cottage Grove Police Department through joint crime, drug, and violence prevention efforts. Now therefore, Mayor Myron Bailey and the City Council of the City of Cottage Grove, County of Washington, State of Minnesota, hereby call upon all citizens in Cottage Grove to participate in Night to Unite and proclaim Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021, as Night to Unite in the City of Cottage Grove, past this, the 21st day of July, 2021.
all right, so that is the proclamation for getting back to Night to Unite again, so it's great to see. So council, I'm looking for a motion to approve the proclamation.
Motion to approve the proclamation.
Here we have a motion by Councilmember Mills. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Thiede. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Looking for an exciting evening. And noon, I guess, too. All right. Next on our agenda is consent items. Is there anything council would like to pull on consent? Councilmember Olson?
Mayor, I'd like to pull item B, please.
Okay. Item B, and then I'm going to just pull J, just to let people know about that too. So any other items? All right, so Councilmember Olson, why don't you do B, which is the Cottage Grove Lions raffle permit?
Thank you, Mayor. As you indicated, this is a item to authorize issuance of a single occasion gambling permit to the Cottage Grove Lions to conduct a raffle at Carboni's Pizza, 7155 Jorgensen Lane South on October 19th, 2021. As a member of the Lions, I just wanted to make mention of the fact that this raffle is what we affectionately call our big ticket raffle. It is one of our largest fundraisers of the year. And the way that this works is the Lions Club will be selling a limited amount of raffle tickets to this raffle. And the purchase of a ticket gives you an opportunity to win significant cash prizes, with the largest prize, I believe, being $1,000. And that will be a one drawing raffle, which will take place at Carboni's on October 19th at our Lions Club meeting. All of the funds that we receive as Lions Club members from this raffle, as well as any other fundraiser that we do, go back into the community. We are a nonprofit entity, and we support the community with every dollar that we raise, including, as you heard just a few minutes ago, celebrating the 4th of July in the city of Cottage Grove with our event at Kingston Park. So I want to encourage everybody to take full advantage of the opportunity to win some awesome prizes. If you know a Lions member, trust me when I tell you, we will all be selling tickets. You know, our our Director of Public Safety, Pete Kerner, is also a Lions member, so I'm guessing he'll have some tickets. I'll certainly have some tickets. We'll make sure that we talk to our friends here at City Hall in a very nice way. We wouldn't strong arm anybody, I promise. You know, hopefully we'll be able to raise a lot of money for the community through this very, very exciting fundraiser. So thank you for the opportunity to talk a bit about it, Mayor, and I would encourage my council colleagues to pass this as well as the rest of the consent agenda.
Fantastic. All right, thank you. And thanks to the Lions for supporting the community. And the item that I pulled, Jay, was an EDA appointment. We do have an opening, or had an opening, I should say, on our EDA. And we, Council Member and Vice President of the EDA, Steve Dennis, and I did some interviews, and we selected Kyle Knopp to join us on the Economic Development Authority, which his term will expire July 21st, 2026. So looking for approval to get him on the EDA to get us full. So with that, that was all the items that were pulled on consent.
I'll move consent.
There we go. We have a motion by Councilmember Olson,
Second.
second by Councilmember Mills. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So if you are here for anything on tonight's consent calendar, all of those items have been approved. Next is 8, approve disbursement. 8A is pay the bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
We have a motion by Councilmember Dennis, second by Councilmember Thiede. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is 9 is public hearings. We technically have 2 tonight, but we'll say we have 1. The first one is the Church of St. Rita's Fall Festival permit, which is September 17th through the 19th, 2021. And our Director of Public Safety, Pete Kerner, will take us through this one. So welcome back, Pete.
Thank you. All right, well, I have to do a good promo for this because Deacon Jack Nicolay is here, and I've known him since I was a young child, so a few years, but,
He married my wife and I.
oh,
Yes.
a lot of history with us here, so. Well, I'll run through this pretty quick. St. Rita, they've been doing their fall festival as long as I can remember, and they're always very well attended and no issues. So I think, look forward to another great year. So tonight, we're just looking to authorize the issuance of a special event permit, temporary liquor license, and single occasion gambling permit. This does not do it justice, so I also brought up the schedule, but the Fall Festival, Friday, I mean, they have so many activities. Meat raffle, raffles, Granny's Closet, a beanbag tournament, live music, drive-in, movie, silent auction, food. Probably the biggest thing on Saturday then, of course, is, I had it right here, the pig roast dinner. So there's so many great activities, so I apologize, I didn't really list a lot of it here, but it's a great great family event and always well attended. So Friday, September 17th through Sunday, September 19th. Traffic, we always just make sure, they have the adequate egress, ingress, entrances to St. Rita's. And we always talk about that overflow parking. As you know, we built the central fire station. We took over their lot a couple times. They were really good neighbors to us. So that evening, and usually on Saturday, we end up using half of the lot at the fire station. So good neighbors, great partners. Our crews that work that night always have the bays open and sit down in their chairs and listen to everything. So parking is always adequate. We do work with them on just an emergency preparedness plan. Obviously, a lot of the things are outside too, but for severe weather, things like that, the church is more than adequate. Kind of have our language here. I'm tired of talking about COVID, but, as we've kind of moved beyond, and then, with the executive orders finished now, we still encourage all the safe practices, some of the distancing, hand washing and everything, so, but shouldn't be any problems. Food sales, St. Rita, they go through the state and also the county for everything, making sure they're permitted and licensed through them. Alcohol sales, again, I think it's just Saturday evening that the alcohol sales, and, we just make sure that they're IDing people and being responsible, and it's never been an issue. We actually have in years past, sometimes we will have an officer assigned, they'll have an officer there. We don't require one, it doesn't get crazy, but I think sometimes with the insurance, they have an officer swing by for a little bit, but again, it hasn't been a problem in the past. Gambling, they applied for a single occasion gambling permit for the conduct of a raffle and bingo, and we did all the appropriate background checks and everything obviously it went through fine. Then noise, they're requesting approval of amplified music until 9:30 p.m. on Friday, and then Saturday, September 19th. Again, not an issue. All of the neighbors that reside close to St. Rita Church, they know they have the fall festival, and I think the one year they did fireworks, that kind of scared people a little bit, but everyone knows the festival's there, so again, no issue. Building permits, they know with the one large tent, they do get the permit through the city that's over 100 square feet. So with that, and open it for the public hearing, and I would also mention to you that with the notification that went out to the neighbors, Neil Bellskammer gave them till 4 o'clock today if they wanted to provide email responses or anything. We had no comments or any questions to the city clerk office as well, so.
All right, council, any questions on this item? Other than I'm looking forward to the pig roast again. It's always a great place to go eat. All right, saying none, thank you, Pete. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anybody who would like to speak on this item? Anybody at all? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'll look for a motion from council.
I would move that we authorize issuance of a special event permit, temporary liquor license, and single occasion gambling permit to the Church of St. Rita contingent upon conditions outlined in the memo from Public Safety Director Kerner and Community Development Director Boyk dated July 13th, 2021, and all applicable state and local statutes.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Thiede, second by Councilmember Olson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Good luck. Thanks, Pete. All right.
You bet.
And the next item under public hearings is B, which is Hinton Woods Easement Vacation Public Hearing, which we are continuing to the August 4th. I'm going to ask just for staff, do we need to actually vote on that, or I figured it's okay. So what we're going to do is I'll just need a motion to approve, and second, that we're going to continue the public hearing to August 4th.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we continue this public hearing until August 4th, 2021.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Olson. Second. Second by Councilmember Dennis. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is 10 is bid awards. We do have one this evening. A is the Oakwood Park Improvements Bid Award, and our Director of Public Works, Ryan Burfine, is going to take us through this. So welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So last Thursday, we did accept bids for the Oakwood Park improvements. We did receive 5 bids, but as you can see on the screen, as detailed in the staff report, all those bids were over our engineer's estimate. That goes for our base bid. Alternate one is the addition of a large concrete sidewalk, which I have a little detail on the next slide to talk about the different improvements. But that was a large concrete sidewalk with a railing to get down to the lower area of the park because we had a recent incident where someone injured themselves. We want to make that a safer situation. Alternate two was essentially a second railing for that sidewalk and stairway. With the base bid and the alternates, I guess a few things I would mention, specifically the base bid. We have lots of line items, lots of things that are bid out, and it wasn't like one or two or three items that were well over, where maybe there was some confusion or a difference in our design versus what the contractor saw. It was pretty much across the board, just an increase in pricing. Also, you can see more specifically for the bottom four, fairly tightly packed, right? Not all over the place in terms of pricing. So for the current bidding environment, materials pricing, time of year, I think we did get competitive bidding in terms of the contractors and the amount of bids we got. Unfortunately, they're just all higher than our estimate. Small projects like this, I'll admit, they're a little more challenging. It is street and utility work, but it's small enough quantities, you can't use just our normal estimates. You're really trying to put your eyes on that contractor of how are they going to phase this work? What's some of those mobilization costs that are going to be there, whether it's a $50,000 job or $1 million job? So there's a lot that goes into this type of estimate. And here, just given the current economy, materials pricing, labor shortages, this is kind of what we ended up with. But I do want to talk through what else is happening at this park and some ways that we've come up with to save some money throughout this project, which is why we're still recommending award. So on the screen before you can see the scope of the work that we're looking at. It's a new parking lot with curb and gutter to replace the old parking lot. We're doing a water service from Hardwood Avenue, a sewer service down to Hardwood Court. That'll serve a new park shelter and bathroom facility that's being quoted through a separate process right now. We're also redoing some of the trails and sidewalks, doing new lighting for the parking lot to increase the safety, and also building and grading and doing the outer concrete perimeter for a new playground that's also on order. And in this area here, you can see the large, long stairway that's going down to the ball field area down below. And that is a structural design of a concrete stairway, frost footings. It's very durable, long-term construction, which is part of the reason for that pricing. But like I mentioned, that playground is on order, and the shelter is something that's being quoted out right now. So we have a lot of components coming together for a pretty exciting improvement to a city park. Also, we have that $250,000 grant that our Parks and Rec director was able to get through the DNR to help fund this. Another consideration we did, because we are over the bid, typically we have consultant inspectors to handle our inspection throughout construction. We have a graduate engineer right now who has some past inspection experience, and knowing we really want this project to move ahead and the experience that he has, he's really going to do most of the inspection for our in-house staff. It's not something we can do on every project, but a project of this scope and scale, we feel pretty comfortable that he can handle that just with some general oversight of one of our consultant project managers. So we feel like that could save roughly in the order of $60,000 in indirect costs to help bring down the total project costs that you'd see. So with all those considerations tonight, we are recommending award of that base bid plus alternate one. That's the concrete sidewalk, stairway, and railing. One railing, not alternate two. We're not recommending award of that. And like I mentioned, alternate one with that sidewalk. We had an incident where a park user did hurt themselves trying to get down that hill, and now we're going to have a lot more traffic at this park as we make these improvements. So we want to make sure we have a safe way to do that and get them down the hill to the ball field and to the disc golf course. I will add that where that sidewalk and stair is located, it kind of ties right into the shelter. So it's something that'd be tough to build later on, because just everything that we're building now, you'd have to get through at a later date to build that sidewalk. So unfortunately, the cost probably would be higher later on if we tried to delay it. The other struggle with the way the economy is, you really don't know that materials are going to go down. We hope they will at some point in the future, but then you never know what happens with other materials or pricing. So it's hard to know, if you delay this, is it really going to get cheaper in the future? I don't think I'd be able to say that one way or another. The other thing is, being a park improvement, it's not like a maintenance project where you can just kind of decide what's that cost of not doing it. It's something we really want to get built this year so our residents have it and they can use it. So with that, I got the recommendation on the screen tonight. I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Okay. Council, thank you, Ryan. Councilmember Olson?
Thanks, Ryan. I'm guessing you're pinch hitting for Zach since he's on vacation, so I appreciate you being on the hot seat tonight. Would you just explain what alternate 2 was, even though you haven't recommended it, please?
Yep. So alternate 2 with that sidewalk, so with the sidewalk and stairway going down, mostly stairway, there's one railing in alternate 1. Alternate 2 was just a second railing. I think we felt with the one railing, that's enough for residents, park users to have something to hang on to and have that safety component, just given the extra cost as alternate 2 was also higher. I think we really feel that, and we did discuss this with Zach last week, that just going with alternate 1 with the one railing was sufficient.
How wide are the stairs?
These, I believe, are 6 feet wide.
So they'll accommodate traffic up and down at the same time?
Potentially, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and there's some large landings, I'll add. That's why I call it a sidewalk and a stairway, is it's kind of stretched out going down the slope, so there's come longer landings as you traverse it as well.
The mayor and I had an opportunity to attend the Parks Commission meeting where we actually visited some of the parks in the community that are coming online or are being considered for improvements, including Oakwood Park. And, it is rare in our city when an engineer's estimate comes in so much lower than the actual bid. We're pretty spot on. In fact, I have a hard time remembering when we haven't actually had an engineer's estimate that was over the bid, because I know you guys try to sort of under-promise, over-deliver, really hit the number. But to your point about, building materials, labor, et cetera, we're seeing that across the wide spectrum of, home building and commercial development, et cetera. So we're certainly not immune to that. You mentioned that this park is going to be heavily used, and I want to expand on that, because we already have high-density housing next to the library with access to this park, and they've had access to this park for a really long time. We have a very popular disc golf course at this property that actually has been used for national tournaments. So in that world, which I don't live in, but there are people I know who do, it is considered a premier disc golf course, and so it gets lots of use. We also have some high-density housing that's been approved by the city council that will be coming online in the next couple of years, very near that park on Hardwood Avenue, which, will have direct access via walking trails, et cetera. And so from where I sit, understanding that we are going to see additional use, et cetera, and then from my role as a former baseball coach for CJA for 15 years. I coached T-ball for a period of time when my son was young, and we used that field frequently. I can speak from lots of experience that on more than one occasion, I've seen people take a tumble down that hill. They're trying to get to their kid's game, and it might be mom or dad, grandpa, grandma, a toddler, whatever. I would like to err on the side of safety, and frankly, I would think alternate 2 should be added to this so that we have the railings on both sides. Because if we're going to have people going up and down, it just feels like one railing may not be enough. And my sense is that, we probably want to err on the side of caution. Now, I don't know how the rest of the council feels about that. I don't know what steps we would take to add alternate 2. But it's not going to get cheaper to do this project. It's going to continue to be expensive, and the longer we push it back, the worse it'll be. And the last thing I would want is for somebody to say we were penny wise and pound foolish and have somebody get hurt because there isn't a railing on the other side. So I'll defer to your judgment as an engineer, and you're somebody who has a young family, and if you put yourself in that position, what would you want to see if the price wasn't the primary concern? To me, the safety has to be part of this conversation. And so I appreciate all the other, information you've given about how we can save a few dollars here and there, but this park's going to get used a lot. And if we're going to do it, my sense is let's do it right. So that's where I stand.
Council? Yeah, I'll start with Councilmember Mills, I'm sorry.
I did have a question, and Councilmember Olson brought up, because I was going to ask about the alternate two and the bid that won. Their alternate bid was double everyone else's, and I don't know if you can shed any light on that, or if that's just what they feel it's going to cost for them. So I don't know if you can share a little bit about that, because I was curious.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Olson, you are correct that it is double. You know, potentially that was, you know, could be a mistake on their part. Based on the bidding we did receive, if we did do alternate two, it would flip, it would change the low bidder. Would change it from Pember Companies to Miller Excavating. But if I can speak to Councilmember Olson's question real quick and comment on alternate two. From a safety perspective, one of the reasons we did it as a second alternate, I think if we really felt it important from a safety, because this isn't really a typical stairway. It's long kind of steps, landings in between. From a safety perspective, I think if we felt it very critical, we would have had it all as one alternate one. But just given the situation, how it's designed, how kind of long this is, that's why we did a second alternate. Like if the pricing was really good, then maybe we do it just because it could be worthwhile. But from a safety perspective, we felt just having the stairway there alone is the biggest thing. Even without a railing, just the stairway would be a safety improvement. So that was a lot of the reason for, you know, not installing that. If we had some major changes at a later date, the railing itself is a smaller, simpler project that you can do bolt-on railings to the concrete, where the construction of the stairway is very intensive. That we want to get done before this park gets finished. But the actual railing itself, because steel is really high right now, there's other ways to fabricate that and just do a bolt-on railing if we felt like we needed that at a later date, was another consideration.
Councilmember Dennis.
Thank you, Mayor. Ryan, I'm assuming that everything with this project was already ADA compliant. We met all other measurements of safety and concern except for the rail on the other side.
Councilmember Dennis, when you think about ADA compliance, we are designing it in terms of, you know, building code, stair height, things like that, stair length. You know, for true ADA, then you're looking at more of a trail, which just is not practical in this situation, which is why we did the stairway, but the rest of it is, following building codes and standards.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, Council, yes, Councilmember Thiede.
And I would agree with Ryan in terms of the second railing and the width of the steps and so forth. And I guess I have to say, as you'd all expected, I had a little hard time swallowing $100,000 for a stairway. But looking at the detail spec and so forth, it is a very hardy stairway, and it's got certain sections going down, cement down like about 4 feet or something of that nature to both make it a better stairway and I guess help from any cracking and things like that. But I personally, I believe the single rail is fine.
Okay. All right. And if I heard right, if we decided later, there would be an opportunity for us to put in a second rail that would be bolted?
That's correct, Mayor Bailey. That's something I should have clarified. And as I mentioned, the concrete stairway is really what we need to get in place in terms of the construction and the intensity of doing that. Just the steel railing fabrication and attaching to that concrete, if we want a second railing after steel pricing come down, would be a good option.
Okay. The other thing I might just throw out there, and I'll kind of look over to our attorney, as we move through with this process. I mean, the fact that they were basically double everyone else on that alternate two, I almost wonder if that was a mistake on their part. Because literally everybody else is within a little bit. So I just mentioned that. I know we sometimes do, what do we call them? Add-ons or?
Change orders.
Change orders, thank you. That just took me,
Would you
we
go
haven't
back
done
to
it in a
that
while.
slide, please? Would you go back to that slide with all the bids, please?
Yeah, so if you see it, I mean, it is considerably higher on, but yet not the highest when it comes to alternate one. So I just would ask that maybe as the project is going through, Ryan, and you guys are talking to them, if there's something that, we're not, well, I shouldn't say that, the council's gonna vote tonight, but I believe, if I'm kind of feeling it here before the vote, that the alternate 2 is just too expensive at this point. But if there's something in the future that brings that cost down, maybe with an understanding that there was a mistake in the bid or whatever, I would be interested to have it come back to the council for a conversation, if you're good with that, Councilmember Olson.
Yeah, I am. One question that pops into my head is if we feel like we can fabricate an aftermarket railing and bolt it on to, alleviate any concerns around alternate 2, is that an option for alternate 1 as well?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Olson, certainly it could be. Once again, just thinking big picture safety. I guess the chances of having 2 park users going up and down, it could definitely happen, but we felt having 1 railing day 1 is still a good idea. So that way, generally you should have people going in one direction, and they can use that railing if they want. The second railing is really if only in that situation you have 2 people meeting on the steps. So we felt having the 1 railing was, I think, important just from an overall safety perspective, where the second railing is kind of addition above and beyond.
So what I'm trying to say, maybe I didn't say it correctly, is, obviously railings are important, and that's why I suggested perhaps we do both at the same time. I think what I hear is, when we do the steps, we want to have a railing that is essentially cemented in, right? It's not bolted on, it's actually part of the structure. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
That's correct. That's how this first one would be built. Would be,
Okay.
Yep, poured in place.
So, isn't it feasible that if you can bolt on a railing on one side, you can bolt one on the other side? I mean, is that a way to maybe save some money then?
That could be something we explore, Councilmember Olson. We would need to award the bid as is to get this project moving, and I guess that would be separate discussions with the contractor on, could we remove that so we do both the railings at a later date? I'd have to explore that further, but we would still need to award alternate 1 tonight to at least have that scope of work in the project.
Yeah, Councilmember Thiede?
You could just do the base bid, right? Just award the base bid.
That is correct, Councilmember Thiede. Yep, we could just award the base bid. At that point, it would be, if we wanted to do the stairs still this year on this project, that would be a change order, at which point, pricing changes. It could change things.
No, alternate 1 was always an alternate. So it's always possible that we would just award the base bid.
That's correct.
Yeah, so then it would just be initially a stairway with no railing.
No stairway.
Just to clarify, Councilmember Thiede, Mr. Mayor, alternate 1 is the concrete stairway with 1 railing. So the base bid does not
Oh, that's right.
include,
Never
the
mind.
base bid
Okay,
does not
never mind,
include the
never mind,
concrete
never
stairway.
mind. Got it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you do.
Yeah.
You thought it was
All
just
right.
the rail? That was an expensive rail.
Yeah, no.
Mayor,
that's
I'll
right. Sorry.
move that we adopt Resolution 2021-94, awarding the 2021 Oakwood Park Improvements Project to Pembroke Companies, Inc. for the base bid plus alternate 1 for a total project cost of $520,346. But I'd like to add that if there's a future conversation to be had about a second railing, provided the price is right, et cetera, I'd sure like to engage in that.
Okay. Sounds good. I have a motion by Councilmember Olson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Mills. Any further discussion? Did you want to make a
Yeah, just a quick
Councilmember
point.
Dennis.
Thank you, Mayor. Generally, change orders I've seen don't work out in our best interest. They're always high. And so if we can lock in here, I think that's a better thing. So-
Well, I think we are locking in, but I think what might happen is if there's a conversation after the fact, there might be an understanding something else could be had if the desire by the council is to have a second railing. But I think it's important, one, to have the steps, very much important to have the steps. And it definitely, I think you need to have at least a rail. I'll pose it to you and Zach and them to say, should we have a second rail? But personally speaking, if we have the option and people could go up and down the stairs on both sides, I would say it'd be nice to have the second rail, so we'll just kind of leave it at that. But I definitely think we need to have the one and we need the stairs. So, any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ryan. All right, next on our agenda is 11, which is the regular agenda. A is the Rolling Meadows zoning amendment and preliminary plat. And Mike Marosola? I did that for fun.
Just gotta say it slowly.
Sure you do.
We're just gonna
Morosla.
M&M from
Morosla.
here.
Ooh, there you go.
See, I told you, I'm just having fun with them. I wanted to see if Joe would. Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we're going to discuss before you Rolling Meadows, which is an application submitted by KLC of Wilmer Incorporated. The applicant's requesting preliminary plat approval to create 41 residential lots to be known as Rolling Meadows and to rezone the current property from AG1, agricultural preservation, to R3, single-family residential with a planned unit development. The project is located at the Cottage Grove-Woodbury border to the east of the Parkview Point development and to the west of South Washington Watershed District property, which surrounds the property subject lot on 3 sides as shown on the image on the right side of the screen here. The subject parcel is a tilled field with no trees and no structures on it. As previously mentioned, the applicants requested to rezone the property from AG1, agricultural preservation, to R3, single-family residential with a planned unit development. This is consistent with the 2040 comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan has this subject property guided as low density with a density of 2 to 4 units per acre. This project has proposing a density of 2.33 units per acre. The preliminary plat consists of 41 units. There is no HOA, so the island here shown on this eyebrow will be removed in the final plan since there will be no HOA to maintain it. So these lots will be moving in slightly and it will not change any, require any modifications to standards that are not in front of us tonight. There is proposed to have 2 to 3 home builders. These would be custom home builders. The price point would be similar to the product found within the Eastbrook development in the community. The applicant is requesting a PUD, as previously mentioned, for minimum lot area. Is the first one. The R3 requires a 10,000 square foot minimum lot area. The smallest lot on the property is 9,142, and the red shaded parcels are the ones that are under 10,000 square feet. The majority of the parcels within the development are about 12,000, just under 12,000, 11,955 to be exact, is the average. Also requesting a minimum lot width adjustment from 75 down to 70. The reduction does allow for larger lots, strictly on the ones facing, the larger lots are mainly on this side of the property facing the Watersheds District property. The front yard setback is requested to be reduced to 25 instead of 30. This is consistent throughout the industry. A lot of the home builders these days are requesting the 25 front yard setback that allows for a larger rear yard for the families to utilize. In addition, the applicant is also requesting side yard setbacks of 7.5 for a total of 15 feet on either side between the units on either side of the dwelling. Access to the proposed subdivisions off of 63rd Street South from the Parkview Point development. There is a proposed 5-foot sidewalk that will run along the proposed extension of 63rd Street South. The image on the right side of the screen is a ghost plat for the vacant parcel located to the west here. As you can see, 63rd will extend up to the north and then connect into the future subdivision here as shown. However, this is a concept, it could change, but this shows how it could be laid out in the future for access. The applicant will be constructing an 8-foot wide regional trail section on the west side of the property. This is shown on our comprehensive plan. It is a regional trail section that will connect to the future city park off of Ravine Parkway and will connect to the Parkview Point existing trail.
The trail will then also extend up into the Glacial Valley interpretive area into Woodbury. The trail will have connections to the Glacial Valley interpretive area. These are natural trails. They will not be paved, as this property is within the DNR, is restricted by DNR covenants, where they don't allow any structures or pavement within this area. That is why the subject property, or the applicant has worked with us to locate this trail on their property, as it cannot be located within the Glacial Valley interpretive area. And like I previously mentioned, this trail connection is consistent with the 2040 comprehensive plan, as shown in the bottom left-hand corner here. It's really hard to see, but it matches. The landscaping plan, there is no tree mitigation required. There's no trees on site. However, the applicant is proposing 41 boulevard trees. The landscaping plan does show the required 4 trees per lot for a total of 208 trees. There's 3 ponds located on outlot A and B. Outlot A has 2 ponds on there. Outlot B has 1 pond. The applicant has worked with us to oversize the pond, so it is larger than is required to meet the means of the proposed development. The city will then utilize the excess size for off-site banking for developments that cannot accommodate stormwater within their site. So it's good for redevelopment potential within the community to support that. The public process, we did have a neighborhood meeting on June 18th. We had 4 residents in attendance. No one raised concerns. General questions were about the timing of development and what the product's gonna look like, and the size of the lots. Generally, the residents were in support of the project. They're happy to see that the product's built the same size as theirs. A public hearing notice was published in the Pioneer Press on June 16th. We have not received any comments. And at the Planning Commission meeting, we did hold a public hearing at that time on Monday, June 26th. No one participated in the public hearing, and the Planning Commission voted 4-0 to recommend approval of this project. Before you tonight, there's 2 actions, approval of the preliminary plat, and then the second is zoning amendment to change the subject parcel from AG1 agricultural preservation to R3 single family residential. That's it for my presentation, and I'm here for any questions, and the applicant is available as well.
All right, first, any questions for Mike here? All right, did the applicant want to speak at all, or? Just here to answer any questions. All right, council, any questions for the applicant at this point? All right, thank you. Thanks to both of you. So council, you do have, with no questions or comments by council or for the applicant, we have 2 items before us to either approve or deny, so I'll look for a motion on number 1.
Mayor, I'll move to adopt ordinance number 1043, approving the zoning amendment to change the zoning of the subject property from AG1 agricultural preservation to R3 single family residential with a PUD planned unit development.
That was number 2, right?
Is that number 2? I was reading off of the agenda here.
It's number 1 on our agenda.
Oh, I see, so it's just different up on the screen. All right, so we'll take that one, though.
Sorry.
No, you're cool. You're good. So a motion by Councilmember Mills, second by Councilmember Olson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And if you want to do the second one, whoever would like to do that one?
Mayor, I'll move that we adopt Resolution 2021-093, approving the preliminary plat for a residential subdivision to be called Rolling Meadows, which will consist of 41 lots for single-family homes and 3 outlots.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Olson. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Dennis. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is council comments or requests. We'll do our normal. We'll start down with Councilmember Mills.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I just want to make some comments. Earlier tonight, we heard from a resident about fireworks. And I have to say that I heard a lot of comments beyond just this resident that came and shared tonight. And I had actually my own experience that evening, which was not very fun. And it started well before our fire department showed up. And I had a long discussion with Director Kerner about things, and I know that there are plans for doing things on a campaign for education on safety and education on what's approved, what's not, and maybe what some of those consequences may be. And so I just want to give support to what they're doing and what they're proposing and looking at possibly doing as we kind of move forward with that. And as our community grows, I think, you know, we have to keep in mind some of those things. So I just want to thank Director Kerner. Also thank the fire department for showing up as quickly as they did after being down at the park and taking care of things there for the wonderful events that were happening. So I just wanted to kind of piggyback on that, but also give my appreciation to the things that are happening, and so that our community knows we do respond, we do take these things seriously, and safety is a very high priority, and respond quickly. So all those residents that live near me, that everybody was safe and everybody was fine, and all the residents helped each other to make sure everybody was safe and fine. So that was also great to see that we had people helping each other that evening. So those are the comments I have for tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Dennis?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to take a moment tonight to recognize a person who is going to be on our staff for one more day, and that's Matt Wolf. Matt has played an integral role in assisting us with our economic development program and success here over the last X number of years that he's been involved with us here on the team. This is a big deal, and normally we don't say things about people that move on, but it's not very often that somebody on our staff has been selected to become a city administrator for another community. So that's a big thing. So I want to congratulate him. I think we all are very appreciative of the work that he did for us here over the years. We had a chance to have him join us in Las Vegas a couple years back. We went for ICSC. And I don't remember which particular project, but I know he was integral in helping us to land something of pretty good size. Jennifer probably remembers that, but just congratulations to him for that fine work. And then I know we've talked an awful lot about fireworks tonight, and so I just want to put one thing out here, not on the safety factor, but just commending the people who make up the Lions Club, because there's a lot of work that goes into that. It's organizing, it's logistics, it's working as volunteers to put this on and cook food that was excellent for people. And, these folks made a great difference for us. And it really is a first-rate event that they helped to put on. And I know, Mayor, you'll probably mention some of the companies that donated money to this, but it's really an outstanding effort on behalf of our community. And then the last thing I just wanted to do is I want to ask Jennifer if, with all the concerns right now about water, I saw in the news today that there's a number of cities in the metro that are going to be doing some adjustments to water usage and such. I just want to touch base with you real quick. Maybe you could just give us your thoughts on how you think we're doing relative to water now that we're in this drought.
Mayor, members of the council, it is a very valid and very timely item to bring up. We have received notice from the DNR as a municipal water supplier that we need to take measures in regards to addressing the drought. Staff is still evaluating all options. We're anticipating that we would bring this to you in a workshop session next Wednesday on the 28th to discuss options for our compliance with their request to deal with the drought. Staff is still evaluating options, talking with other communities, and understanding what measures we may need to take. So we will be briefing you on those options on the 28th.
Okay, thank you. And just a thought here, or a request to the members of the community, that we all do our parts in whatever way we can to save water. I know we do have an odd even watering program here in the city, but if we can continue to find other ways that we can be, employ a good conservation method to help get through this time, it would be a very, very good thing to do, because the last thing any of us want to do here is limit people's ability to do what they want. And so if we can make some of those adjustments and do it good faith up front, that would be a very good thing. So thank you, Mayor. That's what I have.
Before I move on, just because since you brought it up, piggyback, I know that our CSOs, I believe, have been going out and enforcing, which we didn't necessarily do it in the way we're doing it now. In the past, usually be like a warning and then a ticketing, which we're doing now. So I just wanted the public to be aware. So we are on the odd even. And ironically, that you brought this up, and I don't know, maybe you got it too, but I've gotten 3 different messages from citizens while I was sitting here regarding water. And the one thing I would suggest, and I'm just going to throw this out there, a couple of them are commenting about businesses or such where they go by and the water is going, they're watering the street or they're watering the sidewalk or whatever. If you see those things, again, we don't necessarily want to be punitive, but if you do see those things, please bubble it up to City Hall. We'll go out and have a conversation with those businesses, and sometimes they may not know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. So we do want to at least give them a chance to fix it first before we go into more, I guess you'd say, punitive type situation. So if you do see something, contact City Hall, and we'll be more than happy to reach out to those businesses on behalf of all of us so that we can conserve water during this drought. So great segue. Councilmember Thiede.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of make a little bit of an appeal to everybody that, especially our community, that, the positivity rate for the COVID is going back up, and it's 99% of it is due to people that have not been vaccinated, and you see all these stories now of people that are in the hospital and saying, well, now I'd like to get the vaccine, and obviously the nurse is saying, well, it's too late, and they're saying, well, they thought it was a hoax, and it's got to be pretty common sense anymore that it's not a hoax, and we just have to have a lot of concern for our kids, our grandkids, and all those that can't get the vaccine yet, and their health, and as long as you're medically able to get the vaccine, I think, I guess putting out an appeal to go ahead and get it done. So for all of us. So I guess that's all I got.
Sounds good. Councilmember Wilson.
Excellent comments tonight by everyone thus far. On the water issue, I want to compliment our staff for being ahead of the curve. We see news stories popping up every day recently about communities who are implementing odd-even watering bans, communities who are implementing, restrictions relative to the time of day that you water. And we've had those practices in place in the city of Cottage Grove for several years. In fact, we've also been working very closely with our state government partners and the watershed district, et cetera, on the sensors that you put in the ground with the home sprinkler systems, which unfortunately I don't happen to have because I still chase hoses around, but my understanding is they're very effective at ensuring that you don't overwater your lawn. So compliments to the staff for being ahead of the game. I know we've talked about water on numerous different occasions over the course of my tenure on the council, and it's a really big deal. So we need to all do our part, as Councilmember Dennis said. I also want to take a moment to talk about a couple of upcoming events that were not listed on the calendar that I've got. Just to remind folks, on July 31st, there is a fundraiser at the Cottage Grove VFW for a nonprofit called Soldier 6 that I happen to support. I know Councilmember Dennis supports Soldier 6 as well through our involvement with Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. This is a nonprofit that was started by the family of a South St. Paul police officer who was suffering from PTSD. And this officer needed a therapy dog to help him overcome that affliction, which doesn't just go away overnight. For some, it's a lifetime affliction. And so they work very closely with military families and first responders for those who suffer with PSD to help those folks get what they call their battle buddy or a therapy dog who provides companionship, provides therapeutic, opportunities for these individuals to live a normal life and overcome that affliction. And, for those of us who haven't worn the badge or worn the uniform, it's really hard to imagine what some of those folks see on a day-to-day basis. And PTSD is much more common than you'd like to think. And it is a recognized diagnosis by the federal government and the state of Minnesota government. And so Soldier 6 will have their fundraiser from 11 to 4 at the VFW on the 31st. I would encourage all of you to go. This is their 6th annual. I haven't missed one yet, and they have a lot of really neat things that they do. Your standard meat raffle and silent auctions and all that stuff. Additionally, we have a fundraiser coming up on August 15th at River Oaks Golf Course for the Park High Hall of Fame, which I know all of us have been intimately involved in supporting. That is a fundraiser to support scholarship program through the Park High Hall of Fame for Park High students who go on to post-secondary education. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of really great people involved in it. The tournament takes place on August 15th. And if you are interested in playing, you can certainly reach out to River Oaks for more information. Otherwise, retired teacher and coach Greg Juba manages this golf tournament, and you can reach him at gjuba23@gmail.com or reach out to any one of us, and we'd be happy to point you in the right direction. Phil Kimmel at the high school is also a great contact. And then last but not least, I just want to take a moment to talk about Night to Unite, which we discussed earlier. I'm really excited that we have Night to Unite coming back online. Over the course of the last year and a half, 2 years, we've seen an awful lot of negativity in the press and in the public about first responders, public safety, the relationship that they have with their communities. We are very blessed here in the city of Cottage Grove that we have absolutely top shelf first responders in our police department, fire department, and in our emergency management services or EMS department. The opportunity for these folks to get out and meet the neighbors and interact with the kids and actually on a more human level kind of make the uniform and the badge disappear and just person to person talk about what we do for the community, et cetera, is really an opportunity that we missed last year. And I want to encourage people to take full advantage of Night to Unite this year. And if you haven't ever had a Night to Unite event in your neighborhood or you haven't attended the one that takes place in your neighborhood, please do that. You will find the camaraderie that you share with not only your neighbors, but also with our city staff and our public safety team is something that's invaluable. We see a lot right now where people are very disrespectful to public figures. And in fact, some public figures are very disrespectful to folks who work in public service. And I'll reference Representative John Thompson, who's been in the news recently, and some of his behavior. And the fact that he's trying to paint a picture that just isn't true about the way that a traffic stop he was involved in was handled. The reality of the situation is people get into public service, whether they become first responders or they work in city government or state government or federal government, or they sit up here at the dais in whatever capacity as a commissioner or a council member or what have you, because they want to help people. There are always going to be those one or two folks who, are going to do something they shouldn't, act in a way that they shouldn't, and we get cynical and we allow that to color our opinions of other people who serve in similar capacities. Please don't do that. Judge folks on the merit. I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with a group of council colleagues who put professionalism at the very forefront of the way that we engage with each other, the way that we engage with our staff, and the way that we engage with our public. You can pull up any number of council meetings on YouTube if you choose to, where that's just not the case. In fact, I watched one earlier today from Alabama where a African-American male who was the mayor of a community was subject to very derogatory language from another member of that council who was a Caucasian male. Those things don't happen here because we don't allow it. The fact is, you get what you tolerate, and we just don't tolerate that here. We don't tolerate poor behavior, we don't tolerate unprofessional behavior, and we're disciplined enough as a city to ensure that everybody who interacts with the public understands that that is the foremost responsibility that we have. So Night to Unite is a really nice way for you to see that up close and personal. August 3rd, I would encourage you to participate, and I look forward to engaging with the public on the parties that I can visit. By the way, it never hurts to have good food, just FYI. Thanks.
All right, there you go. So one thing, just to piggyback on some of the comments that were made about the fireworks, and Councilmember Dennis mentioned, you know, again, hats off to the Lions for putting on the food and some of the festivities that were going on there. And I wanted to personally thank Hy-Vee, 3M, Tennis Sanitation, and Renewal by Anderson. All of them donated to the fireworks display along with the city of Cottage Grove. And that fireworks display was absolutely amazing, literally a half hour plus long and constant. So it was really, really a neat show. So we do appreciate it. It was nice to see it. We were able to get a lot of people back in the park again. It was pretty, and a beautiful evening too. The other thing, last thing I'll just bring up also is this coming Saturday on the 24th, and I can't believe it's been 10 years already, but we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Cottage Grove WEG Farms Dog Park. I remember starting this, which is kind of funny, I'll be talking about it. The event that day is from 10 a.m. to 2 at the dog park. And just so the public is aware, you know, what's really neat about our community, I think, is the fact that we do have a lot of people that kind of take things from the grassroots level and make something happen with it. And the WEG Farms Dog Park was started literally by just a couple of people in Cottage Grove that had a vision. You can say that also about the bike park. You can say that about the disc golf. I mean, there's so many different things that we have done, that we have citizens come forward and say, hey, we want to do this. What do you think? And we jump, you know, we say, yeah, let's work on this together. So it's hard to believe it's been 10 years, but come down there, check out the dog park. They've got a lot of neat things that they're going to do. K9's going to be down there again from 10 to 2. I will be speaking and saying a few words about 11. But I encourage you to come down there, check it out, especially if you haven't been there. And if you have a dog, bring your dog with. There's a small dog area and there's a large dog area. So if you're worried about your dog, you have some options down there. So I thought I would just share that with you. All right. All right. The next thing on our agenda is a workshop, which is open to the public. We will be taking this in the training room, and it is regarding a project called North Point Development. And so the council's going to be receiving some information. And 14 is a workshop closed to the public, which we do not have this evening. So we won't be adjourning in here, but we will be adjourning once we're completed with the workshop. So everybody have a great evening. Stay cool, and we'll see you all, I guess, in a couple weeks. All right, thanks.